this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no one.
a second.
Oh, no.
When we return to our planet, the High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings, fellow viewers, and welcome to the Vlogcast. This is SeptumSin, and I'm here with Kotobuki Jake as we cover another part of our Oscar saga. Which, you know, this is our last part in the Oscar saga for a little while. I mean, we'll meet back again after this a week before the Oscars. But you know, it's nomination time, so we got to cover that. So
Yeah.
Let's see those things. Now, you said you had something that you wanted to get off your chest at the beginning.
Right. You know what really grinds my gears now? Well, and also it was nice of them to do the nomination on Monday instead of Tuesday, and that way we could cover it right away for once. That was unusual. So, okay. So if you watched last week's video, or if you've watched most of our videos lately, you know that I am flat out hopping mad that they decided to include January and February in this year's eligibility window, which means essentially that 2020 lasted until the end of February 2021. And that is a load of bull crap, in part because no fool should have ever suggested 2020 needed to be longer than it actually was. In part because there are a lot of phenomenal 2020 films, some of which we're going to mention as we go along, that really deserved Oscar love and did not get it, in part because of this. But also, there is the issue of this is a new rant that I have after today's nominees, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. And that being, quite simply, that this was, because of this, the films from January and February, they've had their go at it. They've had their shot at Oscar glory, and if the Oscars don't want to completely screw the pooch, they can't double dip next year.
Yeah.
So there is no legitimate recourse of action for the films that did come out in 2021 that were Oscar level films, that were Oscar quality films, that will not now have a shot because they were competing in a very crowded field against last year, and, well, they lost out. And this is nowhere more apparent than a film that many people had positioned as a frontrunner for the Oscars that is now not only cheated out of its 2021 shot, it's cheated out of a shot this time around. And that is the one film from 2021 I have seen, The Mauritanian. The Mauritanian was friggin' incredible.
That got frozen out totally.
It got shut out completely. Tahar Rahim should be up for Best Actor in 2021. Jodie Foster is an excellent choice for Supporting Actress. The film is an excellent choice for Adapted Screenplay and Director, but now it is left out in the cold, and there's no way it can be nominated in the year it was supposed to be nominated. And there were, in fact, only 3 films from the past 2 months that were nominated. Now, that's 3 films too many, but that also means that there were only 3 films and all the rest are SOL.
Yep.
So that was bull crap for 2 years running. And that's the new version of the rant, but the Mauritanian got robbed. It really did.
I don't know how they're going to go back to... I don't think they're going to go back. I think it's going to now be permanent.
They better go back.
I think
they better go back. It's stupid to do it this way. They need to go back.
Because, then they're going to have a purposefully shortened year. I mean, March through... They might as well.
Yeah,
I just don't...
Or maybe they can do it gradually, but I still think that's stupid. They need to learn the lesson and just be done with it.
I wouldn't mind, of course, leaving the Oscars in April, but stopping it at the end of the year. That way it gives people...
Right.
Because that way all the films would be out of theaters by the time you get to the Oscars, and then you'd have...
Theoretically.
Theoretically. I mean, The Father is still in theaters, and that's...
Right.
And that, in theory, debuted in 2020. So...
Right. Well, The Father, I think, debuted at Sundance. So at the very least, it hit festivals before COVID hit. And it did some special online screenings as the year went on. Mm-hmm. But it didn't actually hit theaters. Same thing with Minari. Minari was a festival darling at the very beginning of 2020. Both films were around in 2020, but they didn't actually hit theaters until February of this year. And, I would still count them though as 2020 because they were... Technically,
I think if we were going by old Oscar rules, they probably wouldn't have counted until 2021. But but then again, if we didn't have COVID, they would have already been wide release in theaters.
Exactly, those two demonstrably would have come out in time.
Now, one could one could make the assumption that some, like Judas and the Black Messiah, would have probably been released in December if COVID.
And I say again though, the third one, like Judas and the Black Messiah, is one of the obvious ones, and so is the United States versus Billie Holiday. The one that snuck in there that kind of surprised people was The White Tiger. The White Tiger, I believe, came out.
Well,
I want to say the end of January. Yeah.
Well, let's save some of our surprise for people who haven't actually listened yet. So why don't you start us off with the original screenplay?
Yeah.
And before we go, one last thing.
Yeah.
I'll keep it brief. I've done this list, which you guys can't see because I'm going to hide it. But as we go through and we introduce a new film. We are going to let you know, as of today, March 15th, 2021, where to find it.
Right.
Which will be hopefully valuable to many of you trying to watch them all. And for the most part, you can. For the most part. Okay, go ahead.
And just remember, for those of you who are not aware, water is where you find it. Okay, so we are starting off with original screenplay with the aforementioned Judas and the Black Messiah, a 2021 release, which is masquerading as a 2020 release. With screenplay by Will Burstyn and Shaka King, story by Will Burstyn, Shaka King, Kenny Lucas, and Keith Lucas. It's up against Lee Isaac Chung's Minari, Emerald Fennell's Promising Young Woman, Darius Martyr, Abraham Martyr, and Derek Cianfrance's Sound of Metal, and Aaron Sorkin's The Trial of the Chicago 7. These are all. I have not yet seen Promising Young Woman or Judas and the Black Messiah. I think you could probably comment on those. Minari is an excellent film, a wonderful film, and a semi-autobiographical tale about a Korean family trying to make it as farmers in Nowhereville, Arkansas. Sound of Metal is a phenomenal film about a metal drummer who's going deaf and has to learn to cope with losing his hearing, one, but also music is his, not only his outlet and his life, it is his way of keeping the demons at bay. He has a drug abuse disorder, and that music is his solace, and so he has to deal with losing that and not losing everything else. And The Trial of the Chicago 7 is a courtroom drama surrounding the individuals who rather infamously were tried in what was really a kangaroo court for supposedly starting the riots at the Democratic National Convention in, what was it, 67 or thereabouts?
Somewhere. It was
right.
Late 60s. I know that much.
Right. And before you jump in with yours, let me go ahead and say that you go ahead and give your outlook on the ones I have not seen. Were they solid screenplays?
So I've seen all of these. Promising Young Woman was very well written, classic revenge flick, and then there's Judas and the Black Messiah, which is of course a contemporary favorite about an individual who is infiltrating the Klan at the behest of the FBI. Not the Klan, sorry. That's Black Klansman.
Right.
Sorry, the Black Panthers.
The Black Panthers.
At the behest of the FBI. Now, one thing real quick, of course, if you want to see Judas and the Black Messiah, it's still on HBO Max, but not for much longer. Minari is available on Prime, but you have to pay that $20 in order to rent it. Technically own it, but you don't really own those.
And I believe it is also still in theaters, although probably quite locally.
Promising Young Woman, you can get that on physical, which you might as well because you're paying just as much for Prime.
Starting tomorrow, right?
Exactly. We covered it last week. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's the better deal because otherwise you're paying $20 to rent it on Prime.
Exactly.
Sound of Metal, if you have Prime subscription, that's the only way you're going to get to watch it. You might be able to find it in select theaters, but
they have announced the Criterion is releasing it, so yay! It may be a minute.
And then Trial of Chicago 7 is on Netflix.
And I guarantee you Criterion will be releasing that eventually. They just haven't announced it yet.
Probably not in time for the Oscars, though, sadly.
No, definitely not. They haven't even announced it. And I will go ahead and just throw out there, instead of the 2021 film, Kitty Green, The Assistant, and Eliza Hittman's Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always were both phenomenal films that were very, very well written. Both 2020 releases. All the critics loved them. And one that I personally loved, that I adored, that no one talked about, but I would say was snubbed, was Bridget Savage Cole and Danielle Crudy's peculiar murder thriller comedy Blow the Man Down. I think all three of those were definitely snubbed in favor of putting a film that didn't belong in the category.
All right. So I will go on with adapted screenplay.
Okay.
My goodness, that's a mouthful. Sacha Baron Cohen
Yes.
and Anthony Hines and Dan Swimmer and Peter Bynum and Erica Rivenoja and Dan Mazer and Jenna Friedman and Lee Kern, with story by Sacha Baron Cohen and Anthony Hines and Dan Swimmer and Nina Pedrad. Which goes to another mouthful. Borat subsequent movie film, which will be known purely as that from here on out. But one time, you get one time movie.
You get one time.
Subsequent movie film, delivery of prodigious bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
I love that title.
And it is currently available on Prime, and only Prime to my knowledge, but it comes with a subscription, which is good. The Father, screenplay Christopher Hampton and Florian Zeller. The Father, coming to streaming at the end of March, but currently in theaters.
Do you know what platform or?
Not yet. I just know it's coming to streaming.
Okay.
Chloe Zhao for Nomad Land, which is on Hulu. And to my knowledge, that's it. Kemp Powell. I'm sure that all of these are in theaters somewhere.
Nomad Land is definitely in theaters, but again, limitedly.
Yeah, like I say, I'm sure that these are in theaters. All of these are in theaters somewhere.
Maybe. I think some of them probably came and went.
I guarantee.
No, I'd say some of them probably came and went.
I'm talking just any place. Like there could be some places doing limited screenings and stuff. One Night in Miami, Kemp Powers, also available on Prime with a subscription. And Raman Bahrani for The White Tiger, which is on Netflix, which I need to mark because I have not seen The White Tiger or The Father. The Father's obvious. Unless you're going to theaters, you really ain't seeing The Father. And The White Tiger, I just hadn't got a chance to see yet. The rest, however, Borat subsequent movie film is a fun film. I think it's almost as good as the original, not quite, but still fun. If you've seen Borat, you know what you're getting. Maybe a little bit more madcap in some aspects. Nomad Land is a very whimsical tale of people who are literally nomads around the United States. And One Night in Miami is a nice little kind of fictional meeting that could have taken place between Malcolm X, let's see here,
Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and Cassius Clay.
Yep, Cassius Clay. And it was an very interesting display. I think all of them good writing. I do have one I want to throw out that I think should have been on here. We were talking about Mauritanian, which was an adapted screenplay, and I think that it was robbed here. I do think that it could have, as much as I like Borat, I think it was better than Borat. Or Nomad Land. I think Nomad Land is overrated. And I'm going to talk more about that as time goes on. But I think it was way overrated. I can't say about The Father or White Tiger, though it's going to be hard to live up to the hype that The Father had built. So it better be one of the best movies ever by the time I get to see that. But any case, your additions.
Okay, so I unfortunately am one behind you on this one because I have not seen Nomad Land. I've only seen Borat's subsequent movie film and One Night in Miami. Once again, The White Tiger 2021 release should not be in this category. It should have given that slot to First Cow, which I am stunned that First Cow did not get a single Oscar nod after being on all the critics' top 5 lists all year long. I think most of them had it in their top 3. It was like First Cow, Nomad Land, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, the different films from Small Axe, and we'll get to that eventually. Actually, some of them are adapted and some were original. Small Axe got reamed by being treated as a TV show and not a series of films. And that is just criminal. I'm just going to say that now as a blanket statement and be done with it. Small Axe got reamed. And we can't really blame the Oscars fully so much as Amazon, but still. And I forgot one for the original screenplay. Reiko Yoshida's screenplay for Ride Your Wave also got, I think, snubbed. There were a lot of really good original screenplays. There probably were a lot of good adapted ones. I'm just having trouble thinking of them. But I do think One Night in Miami was an excellent screenplay. It really was. I'm a little surprised that Borat got in there because it's really not a screenplay. It was all improv for the most part. But I guess it was coming up with the situations. And, of course, apparently Sacha Baron Cohen thanked in his Golden Globe speech. Apparently he felt that much of the film's success was comedy genius Rudy Giuliani. So he always has the best acceptance speeches, I'll say. So, for visual effects, we were thinking that Bloodshot was going to be the left field contender, and instead we have Matt Sloan, Genevieve Camilleri, Matt Everett, and Brian Cox, probably not that Brian Cox, for Love and Monsters. Very surprising admission there. Matthew Kasmer, Christopher Lawrence, Max Solomon, and David Watkins for The Midnight Sky. Sean Fadden, Anders Langlands, Seth Morey, and Steve Ingram for Mulan. Ooh. Nick Davis, Greg Fisher, Ben Jones, and Santiago Colomo Martinez for The One and Only Ivan. Also kind of a surprising one.
Yeah.
And Andrew Jackson, David Lee, Andrew Lockley, and Scott Fisher for Tenet. In a very strange reversal for me, I usually have seen most or all of these films prior to the noms coming out.
Nom.
I have seen Mulan. That's it. That's the only one I've seen in this category. And that is weird. Certainly of the films that I have seen this year, there have been some very solid visual effects movies, and I find it disappointing and a little bit sad that really none of them made it into the I'm trying to think if there are any that really I would say blew me away. Perhaps Birds of Prey could have been a contender. I'm still unclear about the role of visual effects in animation, but Onward and Over the Moon were both.
And they're talking about Soul too in that category,
right,
which is weird.
And the New Mutants had some pretty darn solid visual effects too. So did Wonder Woman 1984. Yeah. And Color Out of Space had some pretty incredible visual effects. So, so I haven't really seen most of these. I'd like to, I know you've seen more of them than I have. So
just again, where to find them. Love and Monsters is a physical release. And by the way, out of everything so far that we've mentioned, the only movie that I'll have trouble actually seeing before the Oscars is The Father. Hopefully that will change by the end of the month. So Love and Monsters is a physical release, but you can rent it on Prime for $5, which is not bad, actually. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen One and Only Ivan, but it is on Disney+. Disney Plus is $8 now. They upped the price, but again, I think that for what
how much is the Disney Hulu bundle? Do you know?
I don't. I think it's like 14 something. It's not that bad. The problem is it includes ESPN, which is what they use to raise the price up. And but if you really like watching the sports ball games, it's not so bad. So, Midnight Sky, which is on Netflix, is a beautiful movie. It really is. You'd almost think it was a Christopher Nolan movie. But there is a Christopher Nolan movie on here, Tenet, which is on physical and Prime renting for $6, which is not bad either. And it is a visual feast, but oddly enough, I think Midnight Sky beats it. And I hate Mulan, but it is on physical and on Disney Plus.
It is impressive visually.
Yes, it is impressive visually, and it does not cost $30 anymore if you have Disney Plus, so you can do it. I'm hoping that it wins nothing because that means I don't have to support it. But it is.
Otherwise, you're stuck with it.
Exactly. Yeah, there were a lot of them that I thought could have gotten visual effects. There were a crap ton of really impressive movies this past year. But I'm not really that disappointed with what got it. I need to see those two, but I've heard a lot of good. But every single one of these, I'd heard whispers of, so it's not a surprise. The only one that's a surprise so far to me is the White Tiger, but even that I'd heard a little bit about.
That one I heard a lot more about than Love and Monsters.
Oh, I heard a lot about Love and Monsters.
Oh, okay.
So I was not surprised. It was on my watch list anyway. Which is why I have a copy secured. All right, so sound. So our combined category.
Our combined one.
So Warren Shaw, Michael Minkler, Bo Borders, and David Wyman for Greyhound, which you can get through Apple TV, and pretty much only through Apple TV unless you catch it in theaters. But I think that's been out of theaters for a while now. I
think it was a summer release, actually.
Yeah, so I'm sure it's playing in a theater somewhere, but good luck. Then there's Ren Kleiss, Jeremy Mullard, David Parker, Peter Pecker, Nathan Nance, Drew Coonan for Mank, which is a Netflix one. And that's, again, the only one I know of. Again, we'll just say potential for theaters, but yeah, whatever. Then there's Oliver Tarnay, Mike Prestwood Smith, William Myler, and John Pritchett, which is News of the World, which I got New of the World, but News of the World.
Physical next week.
Yep, physical release next week. It will be in my hands. Oh, yes. Or you can rent it on Prime for $20, which just pay $2 more for the physical.
And I'm almost sure that one's still in theaters because it had a late theater run. Yeah.
Then there is Soul with Ken Kleiss. See that name? Ren Kleiss, which you see multiple times. Koya Elliott and David Parker. And that does have a physical also coming out next week.
Okay.
And
is this the same as the David Parker that you have under Mank, or is this a different David?
It could be David Parker, but with that, it could be just because I was trying to type frantically to get some of these moved around.
It is David Parker in both cases. Yes.
Okay, well that's a lot easier to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can get that all if you have Disney Plus. It is on there, and then there is Nicholas Becker, Jamie Bakst, Michelle Kutolenk, Carlos Corolos Cortez, and Philip Blood. Which is Sound of Metal, which is to my knowledge only on Prime. So,
yeah,
I've seen all of them but Greyhound, and News of the World, and there we go.
Okay.
And I have to say there's some excellent sound there, and I have not seen Greyhound. 2 Tom Hanks films, actually. Greyhound and News of the World I have not seen, but I've heard good things. I'm sure there's a lot of other sound ones. I just can't think of any, except for maybe Tenet. But I will leave it to you. Have you seen how many of these?
Most interesting thing being that Greyhound's actually co-written by Tom Hanks, but they decided to go in this category. You, again, have me beat because I have not seen Soul. But Mank and Sound of Metal are the ones I have seen. I have been saying for years that animation gets reamed in the sound categories, and so it's nice to see an animated film nominated. That's very rare, and so that's very nice. And I still think that the people involved in this area are getting reamed by them combining it into one category. But on the other hand, it does make it more user-friendly for the people at home. And apparently for the Academy, most people outside of the sound branch don't have any clue what the differences are. So, yeah.
And no Transformers movie this year to screw things up.
Now, having said all that, this year, if there is any fairness and justice in the world, if there is anything good in the world, and we are not looking at a repeat of 2020, Sound of Metal will win this one in a walk. That is a film that was made to win this category. The sound is so integral to the film, and it's so well done that, yeah, this should be Sound of Metal's category easily. But like I said, I am thrilled to see Soul nominated. And, there's a lot of other good choices that could have gotten in. Since I haven't seen Greyhound or News of the World, I can't comment on those. Yeah. But I've said before, animation gets reamed. I personally would have picked Onward or Ride Your Wave over Mank. I mean, not that the sound is bad in Mank, it's excellent. But I would have gone with an animated one, or I'm trying to think, there might have been a couple others. The Assistant actually comes to mind as one where sound was very important to the film. So, yeah. But anyway, we've still looks like a solid group.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Oh, let me take that down. There you go.
Okay, short film live action. If I had had any clue that The Human Voice was by Almodovar, it starred Tilda Swinton, I would have sought that bad boy out no matter what I needed to do. And I still want to see it. But it's being decried as one of the biggest snubs, which is weird that you get that in the short film category. Live action, we've got Feeling Through by Doug Rowland and Susan Brzezinski, The Letter Room by Elvira Lind and Sofia Sondervan, The Present by Farah Nabulsi, Two Distant Strangers by Travon Free and Martin Desmond Rowe, or Travon Free, I guess, maybe, and White Eye by Tomas Shushan and Shira Hochman. This is a category where thus far I ain't seen crap. So,
I made a breakthrough with these.
You did what?
Actually, you see, you see my smiley faces, right?
Yes.
But
those look like smiley faces. Yes.
Yeah, they put little frowny faces next to each one because it was like, and I had a little rant on it, and I still have a mini rant on these. But I'll let you finish your point first, because I'm sure. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say on the short section?
No, I'm done.
So
that's all I have to say about that.
Every year, the short films, especially these, the other two categories are a little bit less. Matter of fact, animated is kind of a hybrid, and the short feature documentary is usually the easiest to get a hold of.
Yeah, they want you to see those.
But the short film live action is the most snobbish category because I swear they keep them from you until after the awards, and then they're fairly easy to find after that. Now that is not. I have learned recently of where to find some of these, but I can't remember which ones. But Vimeo does have a few if you're willing to pay. The problem is I don't know if I want to pay $15 to $20 per short film to see them one time.
They charge you per?
Per.
Oh, geez.
So, and that will be the case on some of the others as we go forward. But I just wanted to say that as we move on. But both of us have seen at least a handful of each of these other ones as far as the short film categories. So that's a positive.
Well, I've seen something in each of the other categories.
More than what we can say here.
Yeah, so you didn't get to any of the ones that weren't nominated, or?
Well, I didn't get to any of them. Yeah. In this category, no.
Okay.
I saw a number of the animated and documentary ones, but unfortunately, the other one that I watched, Animated Out, did not get nominated, which I don't like. But I haven't seen it any of the others yet.
That's the other one on Disney Plus, isn't it?
Yes, and it is really good. Short film animated. Madeline Sharafian and Michael Caparat for Burrow, which is located on Disney Plus. Then Adrian Mergu and Amory Ovis for Genius Loki, which is very confusing to find. You go to the creator's website, you can watch it for $15. I don't know if it's worth that to watch it, but at least it's available. Will McCormick and Michael Gouvier for If Anything Happens, I Love You, which is on Netflix. And be sure, it's a very short one, but be sure that you have something nice to put on afterwards, because that is that's a depressing one. And,
it is. It's a tearjerker. It's only 12 minutes long, so that's impressive.
And then Eric O's opera, which I have not found anywhere, and Gisli Dari Haldorsson and Arnar Gunnarsson for Yes People, which is kind of a claymation one. And, I found trailers for all of them. Yes People was the hardest to find a trailer for. And I can only find the foreign language trailer. I've only seen If Anything Happens, I Love You, and Burrow out of these, and that's probably how it's going to stay. Though I will search again probably right before we talk about our predictions.
We do have another month or so who knows? Anything can happen.
Any other thoughts on the animated?
Well, the only one I've seen is If Anything Happens, I Love You, and yes, that is a phenomenal short. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is a tearjerker to the nth degree.
Actually, I have a recommendation.
And what's that?
If you have Disney, not you, but if you at home have Disney Plus and Netflix, start with If Anything Happens, I Love You, and then watch Burrow. Burrow will be a great palate cleanser. It's a cute thing. It's a cutesy one. You enjoy it, and it will cheer you up after that tearjerker. All right, sorry.
Good times. But yeah, so it's definitely a good one. And from what I hear, it's the favorite to win, because no one has said anything other than that movie is awesome. You've got to see it. No one has said anything else. So it's like, yeah. So next up, we have production design. And in the production design, we have, for production design, Peter Francis, set decoration, Kathy Featherstone for The Father. Production design, Mark Ricker, set decoration, Karen O'Hara and Diana Stoughton for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Production design, Donald Graham Burt, set decoration, Jan Pascal for Mank. Production design, David Crank, set decoration, Elizabeth Keenan for News of the World. Production design, Nathan Crowley, set decoration, Kathy Lucas for Tenet. And now, of these, I have seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Mank. So I can definitely comment that the two of them absolutely friggin' deserve these nominations. The two of them, those two movies have Mank in particular has phenomenal production design. There are no two ways about it. That is a movie that absolutely deserves consideration here. Ma Rainey is a little bit more of a traditional period piece.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very, very limited scale. So it's a very, very small production visually. But they did an excellent job from top to bottom. I cannot fault that one particularly for being in here. Not having seen the others yet, it's hard for me to truly call a snub. But here again, I want to do a shout out for animation. And of the ones I have seen, Onward in particular, followed closely by Ride Your Wave, and also Over the Moon, all were snubbed in this category. And I would also very much claim that you could say the same thing for actually one that I think people expected to get a nod here was Trial of the Chicago 7. And Defy Bloods could have been a contender. Emma was a definite potential snub in this category. And the personal history of David Copperfield is a potential snub here. So there definitely were some, and I'm not even getting into small acts. That's a whole bunch of stuff right there. But this is always a crowded category. It's one of the reasons why I want to see an animation category. And that way we might get something similar to this to give animation a bone instead of, me wondering why they're not all getting it here. Or maybe they could split up production design and set decoration and, or bring back art design or art decoration. That apparently got left out in the cold a few years back. So it's just there's a lot of really, really, really talented people who put together the look of a film. And it's hard to say who really got snubbed the hardest here.
Actually, I'm surprised that you didn't put First Cow in there. I thought that one kind of got snubbed as well.
That was a good one for that category. You're right. Yeah.
Tenet, I'm not sure. I think Tenet just got it for purely the fact that it's a Christopher Nolan film. It was not as... It was good, but technically it's nowhere near what he's done previously. And just as a heads up for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, it is on Netflix.
Yep.
So, but I've seen 3 out of them. Same 2 he has, plus Tenet. Which I have on physical, so,
Right. Now, from what I've seen of stills and whatever news of the world, it does look pretty impressive, but I haven't seen enough of The Father to know.
Oh, it's coming to me, so I will be seeing that on physical soon enough.
Okay.
And you're welcome to borrow, of course, when you get by to pick up the rest of the stuff.
I intend to very soon.
So, original song. I actually finished. Actually, I can turn. I'm going to leave that because I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard all the songs.
I played all the songs too. Yeah.
So first off is music by H.E.R. and Ernst Emil 2, lyrics by H.E.R. and Tiara Thomas. Fight for You from the movie Judas and the Black Messiah. Music by Danielle Pemberton. And lyrics by Daniel Pemberton and Celeste White, which is Hear My Voice from Trials of Chicago 7. Savan Kotka, Fat Max Zus, and Richard Goranson for Husavik. For Eurovision Song Contest. That also had a long title, which I did not finish. And by the way, that one is on Netflix. It is on my list to watch, but it's low down the list. I did what I needed when I heard the song.
Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga.
So, music by Diane Warren, lyrics by Diane Warren and Laura Pausini. EOC, The Life Ahead, which is on Netflix. And music and lyrics, Leslie Odom Jr. and Sam Ashworth for Speak Now, One Night in Miami. Now, I think all of these are excellent. There was one, the song in Minari I thought was should have taken Eurovision's place, but that's
Rain
my
Song?
opinion. Yes, that's my opinion. But I had heard that this was a category that Eurovision could sadly sneak on. The thing that makes me mad is the Life Ahead's nomination.
Yeah.
Because that freezes this movie out of the ability to be in foreign language or international film, actually, category for next year's Oscars. Because it's already been up this year. I would have been fine if it had gotten the nomination that it should have gotten this year. But alas, it did not, and I'll continue my rant later, but this nomination basically leaves this film out in the cold. It'll get no nominations, next year, and it's not going to get any wins this year. But here's for hoping at least one win for it, because it is an excellent film.
And this is one of the reasons, again, why the eligibility window being different for foreign films is stupid bullcrap. Because it is a November 2020 release. It is very much fully a 2020 release. Why should it be treated differently from the others? It makes no sense. And then, of course, we have Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a 2021 release. And both of those are also problematic because, A, Fight for You probably was my favorite of the songs. I loved it. It was great. It was fun. It was the only upbeat one of the bunch. And I'm really furious that it's nominated this year because it's not supposed to be. And then you'll see is the 12th film nominated, 12th nomination, for Diane Warren. She should have won 3 times already, arguably.
She may win
because You Love Me. Well, that's the thing. If she wins, it will be a career achievement win.
Yeah.
And just like her last 4 or 5 nominations, she has no chance of winning this time because she's up against such great, strong stuff. Hear My Voice is great. Speak Now is great. Fight for You is great. It doesn't deserve to be here, but it's great. Even Husavik. I really thoroughly enjoyed watching the video of Rachel McAdams and Will Ferrell, and I want to see this movie. I had heard of it. I thought it looked amusing. I didn't think Oscar when I heard of it.
I do think the song from All In should have gotten in there also.
I need to see that, but I've heard great things about it. That's by Janelle Monáe, right?
Yeah, that's
what is it? Turntables?
Yes, that's the one. And
I haven't played it, but I've heard good things about it.
And an excellent documentary too.
Right. And then I was trying to remember, Sound of Metal had an original song. You're right, Minari had a wonderful original song. There were a couple of others that had some original music songs in them. So they could easily have snuck some in there. But now, speaking of original music, we have music original score. We see, interestingly enough, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are double nominees this year for Mank and Soul, which they also have John Batiste on Soul. Very rare example of the Academy allowing 3 nominees in this category. Terrence Blanchard for Defy Bloods, Emile Mosseri for Minari, and James Newton Howard for News of the World. Newton Howard, much like Diane Warren, is very much overdue for an Oscar and has been nominated many times and never won, and who knows. Terrence Blanchard has only been nominated once before for a Spike Lee joint called Black Klansman. So he got a nod for the new Spike Lee joint that otherwise got shafted.
Yeah, I had it up for a lot of stuff in my nomination.
Yeah, we are going to talk about this as we go on. But that could have been up for original screenplay. The Five Bloods was a solid film. It was one of the better Spike Lee joints I've seen. Still haven't seen enough, but it was one of the better ones I've seen. Featured a show-stopping performance from Delroy Lindo that got robbed. Several ways. This one could have been a good one for production design now that you come to it.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of stuff it could have been up for. It has to make do only with original score, which is excellent. The score for Mank is excellent. The score for Minari is wonderful. I have not seen the other two films, but I am thrilled to see that Soul is up in multiple categories. That is not a common thing for animation, so that is nice.
Now, if you want to see The Five Bloods, it's on Netflix.
Okay, I also have to say before I forget, I abso-freaking-lutely love that the dude from Nine Inch Nails is nominated for scoring a Pixar film. I think that's great.
And again, it is on The Five Bloods is on Netflix.
Right.
Soul does have an amazing soundtrack. I would love to see Soul win all three categories. Just because I would just like to see that. That would be an awesome thing. And it does have the musical chops for me to actually say it deserves the win. So it would be, not only would it be a win that would make me feel good about seeing an animated feature get those, but it would also be a win that is well deserved.
Right.
All of them strong. I haven't seen News of the World yet, but I think all of them do strong. I think Mank is the weakest of those on there. But again, maybe News of the World. I don't know. News of the World's probably the worst film ever. That's worse than American Pie Girls Rules.
Probably not.
Probably not. But and I don't see that one up for anything here. Where's American Pie?
No, you won't see that one. Okay.
All right. So, makeup and hairstyling. Maurice
An odd
Reagan,
bunch.
Laura Allen, and Claudia Stoles. I'm kind of glad they opened it up to 5 this year. For Emma, which is out on physical and on HBO Max if you want to stream it. Then, of course, Aaron Kruger. No relation to Freddie, I'm sure.
Aaron Kruger Mikash.
Yes. Matthew Mungle and Patricia Dehaney for Hillbilly Elegy, which is on Netflix. Then, of course, Sergio Lopez Riviera, Mia Neal, and Jamaica Wilson for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Adele Dazeem.
And Gigi Williams, Kimberly Spiteri, and Colleen LaBeouf for Mank. And finally, Mark Collier, Dalia Colli, and Francisco Pegoretti for Pinocchio. Which actually, when we were talking about Pinocchio's release for physical, which, by the way, released on physical, Prime, $5.99. I actually did say that this one has talk of Oscar nomination. I didn't put it up for my stuff, but I knew it had the talk, so it does not surprise me to see it there, even though it is the only one in this category I have yet to see.
It did kind of surprise me.
All of them have good makeup and hairstyling. I think that Hillbilly Elegy and Emma are fantastic. Ma Rainey's also did amazing work with the stuff, especially for the character that Viola Davis plays in that. So, and of course the stills I've seen for Pinocchio are there. Again, I feel like Mank is the weakest in this, but still a good, strong contender.
I actually honestly thought that Mank was very weak in this category. It's a mixed thing. Like, for the most part, it was very, very, very well done. But I felt, and maybe you can tell me if you agree or disagree, I felt that they did an extremely poor job of aging and de-aging the characters.
Yeah.
I felt like you couldn't really tell that time had passed based on the look of the characters. I thought that most everything else was spot on. The hair, all that was well done, but they did a terrible job of aging them. And I don't know if that was intentional or if they just dropped the ball on that.
I think that they really should have used that particular slot for Harley Quinn for Birds of Prey. Basically.
Yes. I mean, the idea, and again, it comes back to freaking Suicide Squad won an Oscar. So the better sequel comes out and doesn't get nominated? What?
Yeah.
And now, I still think a large part of what won at the Oscar in the first place was characters who were not in this sequel. I mean, the Killer Croc and El Diablo probably were the lion's share of why they, probably the Joker too, which is why it shouldn't have won the friggin' award. But this time around, Harley's makeup is excellent. It really is. It's just as solid this time. Yeah. Birds of Prey got kind of robbed in this category. If I'm looking at other ones, again, the Trial of the Chicago 7, very, very, very solid hair and makeup work there. Mm-hmm. Probably would have been a very good contender. The Gentleman.
David Copperfield.
The Gentleman. The Personal History of David Copperfield, yes. But I was going to say with The Gentleman, Hugh Grant is unrecognizable in that film. and heck, One Night in Miami had really excellent makeup. So there were some really solid contenders. I don't think Mank really deserved that particular nod. I'm not going to rag too much on Hillbilly Elegy because that was a category I think it kind of deserved.
Really good, yeah. I thought it did.
Yeah. So next up, we have International Feature. Once again, we have this stupid offset eligibility window and the stupid thing of the categories. I mean, not the category, the countries getting the nomination rather than the, However, Tunisia and I believe Romania as well are first-time nominees in this category, which is kind of cool, for The Man Who Sold His Skin and Collective, respectively. Denmark is nominated for another round. Hong Kong is nominated for Better Days. And Bosnia and Herzegovina is nominated for Quo Vadis Aida, however you want to say that. I have not seen a single one of these. I have heard nothing but resounding praise for Collective and for Another Round. And generally, I've heard good things about all of these, but I haven't gotten to them yet.
It actually makes me mad. I saw a lot of amazing foreign films, and the only one that gets nominated. I mean, the Mole one, which it does come up later, but so many of these, there were so many good ones. The one from Mexico that they did that was really good. There's just like a whole bunch of good. The one from Russia, that one was freaking amazing. Dear Comrades, that one should have gotten in here. I guess I can't really say because I have not seen any of these. Two of them are really impossible to get because unless you can find some sort of out-of-the-way theater somewhere that shows them, The Man Who Sold His Skin and Quo Vadis Aida, Aida are not capable of being seen. Better Days is available on Prime for $3, so that's actually that's way cheaper than the short films. So I probably will plunk down the $3 to see that. Especially Hong Kong cinema in general is amazing. It is kind of sad that it's probably in its end stage because once the Chinese government gets in there fully, it's going to be homogenized to the rest of Chinese cinema because the freedom.
Well, apparently this one had a long and rocky road to release because of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, that's why we're probably at the end of it. That's another reason why I feel so strongly about Mulan, because the lead actress was very much in favor of Hong Kong losing its freedom. And I just, and it's probably because the main government is telling her to say that, but still, it's a terrible thing that was there. Disney supporting the CCP. Again, that's just my personal issues with it. But another round is coming out in physical at the end of the month. I have already pre-ordered it, and it is pretty cheap, but only on DVD. And $4 you can rent it on Prime, so not bad. But yeah, just so many good ones out. I'm sad that not a single one of them got up except for Collective, which I found is boring, but that was me.
And the sad thing is, I have seen next to no foreign films for the year, and I have seen one that was truly excellent and had zero chance of a nomination here. Technically two, let's say two, both Japanese films. My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, and Ride Your Wave. Ride Your Wave actually could have been a contender, but no, it was not.
Well, another one. Okay. Another one that can't come to this category, which should be in it next year, is the one that we were talking about in The Life Ahead.
Yeah.
That would have killed in this category next year.
It depends on what it's up against.
Yeah, but still, I mean, Sophia Loren in one of the best performances of her life in this darn film, and now it's gone from it, which just But otherwise, I don't think I mentioned that Collective is available on physical, and if you want to see it, unless you can find a theater showing it, that is the only way you're going to get it, because I have not found it on any streaming service. Which is very strange that you can get it on Prime on DVD, but cannot watch it on Prime for a rental. That is weird.
That is unusual.
So let's talk about film editing. Yorgos Lanthimos, Chloe Zhao, Frederick Thoraval, Mikkel E.G. Nielsen, Alan Baumgarten.
Yeah.
So, and going back down the list, The Father, Nomad Land, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and Trial of the Chicago 7. I have seen all but one. Boy, I wonder which one that one was. And all of them did excellent work. I am surprised Tenet did not go here, but I am pleased to see Sound of Metal on here, as I am with Trial of Chicago 7. I also think The Five Bloods should have been on here and not Nomad Land. Again, Nomad Land is overrated. I will say it again and again and again. Overrated. In any case, and I don't know about The Father. I'm sure it is probably the best film ever made because it's nominated for everything. But that's all I got to say about that.
Okay, well, I've seen all but three of these. So, again, Sound of Metal, Trial of the Chicago 7. I can't say either of those really sticks out in my mind as I watched it and was blown away by the editing. But they are both excellent. Actually, now that as I'm speaking, I remember one of the key things to music performance and sports performance is editing, and there's so many performance scenes that could be where their minds were at. And yeah, The Sound of Metal and Trial of the Chicago 7 are both excellent films, and a lot of that starts with how they were put together. I have no problems with those. I have not seen the other three, so I cannot really, truly say any of them needed to be booted. But I will say The Five Bloods probably was a good contender here. Ride Your Wave was probably a good contender. Blow the Man Down was a good contender here. So was Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Minari, The Gentleman. All of those were very, very well edited movies. One Night in Miami, I think, actually was considered a front runner that a lot of people are calling a snub here. So, yeah, they probably could have had a stronger slate, but the only two I've seen are my top 2 films of the year, so I can't complain too much.
Now, those scenes in the trial of Chicago 7, when they had the actual riots going on, when they had the concerts with the various things, I really think that's where that got its strength from.
That could be, yeah.
Because there was a lot of editing work that went into that.
Well, and also the way the courtroom scenes were structured, they did a really good job with the dramatic impact of how they were structured. So,
yeah, especially when you got the parts where Sacha Baron Cohen was there, or when they did that part where they basically bound and gagged the one guy, which is, you know, saddens me that something like that actually happened. But moving right along.
We're moving right along. So it's my turn, right?
Yeah, you get to finish out those short subjects.
Yes, we do. And this is the one short film category where I have seen multiple contenders. Although I hate to say it, I still have seen only 3 of these. So, Colette, nominees Anthony Giacchino and Alice Doyard. A Concerto is a Conversation, nominees Ben Proudfoot and Chris Bowers. Do Not Split, nominees Anders Hammer and Charlotte Cook. Hunger Ward, nominees Scott Fitzgerald and Michael Schuerman. And A Love Song for Latasha, nominees Sophia Nali Allison and Janice Duncan. I have seen Colette, A Concerto is a Conversation, and A Love Song for Latasha. Everything I've heard is A Love Song for Latasha is widely considered the frontrunner in this category.
It should be.
It is an excellent film. It does get really, 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 really impressionistic and weird, which honestly I think they went a little overboard with the artsiness, but it's still a very, very effective piece. I really thought it was good. It is my top one so far of the year. A Concerto is a Conversation was a fascinating one, and I really liked it, and I thought it was good. Colette was decent. It was good. But honestly, there were 3 others I saw that I rated all 3 of them higher than those 2. So I personally would consider Hysterical Girl a snubby. Call Center Blues was a snubby.
That's a big snub.
And arguably Abortion Helpline, This Is Lisa. I think that one's a little more debatable given the ones that I've seen. And again, there's 2 I have not seen, so I can't go. But I do think Hysterical Girl and Call Center Blues were probably snubbed.
I'm looking up my thoughts on that. I've seen all of the nominees, by the way, because they're not hard to find. The hardest one to find,
super hard.
The hardest one to find was Hunger Ward, which is on Pluto TV. Or if you're,
I have no idea what that even is.
It's just type in Pluto TV because it's done through MTV, and MTV does have now if you've got, like, of course, cable, then now that's not.
I know that Love Song for Latasha, and I want to say Hysterical Girl. No, I don't think that one.
Hysterical Girl is on YouTube.
Right. A Love Song for Latasha is on Netflix, and that's how I watched it.
Yes.
And I know also that a couple of the ones, What Would Sophia Loren Do and Speed Cubers are also on Netflix.
Yes.
But all the other than Latasha, all the ones I saw, I actually was looking at the Variety predictions of the nominees, and they actually had on the Variety page, they had links to several of these ones, but they had no links whatsoever in either of the other 2 categories.
Which is a sad
It was
thing.
only
That's
yeah,
because they're so hard to deal with. I mean,
yeah,
there were a lot of them that there were some, like I say, animated was easier to find than short subject. Now,
right.
Colette and Concerto as a Conversation, you can both find both of those on YouTube. Though, if you want to show more support, you can go directly to The Guardian, which, by the way, is the group that made Colette, and New York Times that did a Concerto as a Conversation as an opinion piece. So, Do Not Split, which is the only one we hadn't talked about on here, which is on YouTube. And I think the only one you didn't see a Hunger Ward either.
No, I didn't.
Both of them are very powerful. Do Not Split made me dislike Mulan even more. So I'm kind of more on that. But that's, I mean, again, it's about the crackdown on the Hong Kong protests. So it is again, we won't be seeing many more of these types of films out of Hong Kong in the future. We'll probably hear a lot more North Korean style stories of people escaping as time goes on. So it's a very sad thing. And Speed Cubers probably should have gone on here. I actually think out of this...
You think so?
Yeah, I think that Speed Cubers would have been a good lighthearted one to throw on with all these heavy subjects. Maybe over Hunger Ward. The Hunger Ward was good. It was... it just heavy. So speaking of heavy...
Okay. Yeah.
Documentary feature. So, we've got Alexander Nano and Bianca Oana for Collective. We've got Nicole Newham, Jim Lebrecht, and Sarah Boulder for Crip Camp on Netflix. And one I have talked about before for Mate Alberdi and Marcela Santianez for The Mole Agent, which again I was hoping it would get an international feature, but again an amazing film on Hulu. My Octopus Teacher, Pippa Herlick, James Reed, and Craig Foster for My Octopus Teacher, which is on Netflix. Garrett Bradley, Lauren Domino, and Kellen Quinn for Time. So My Octopus Teacher is on Netflix, and Time is on Prime if you have a subscription. So for me, eventually I will see all of them. I've seen 3. I've seen Collective, Crip Camp, and The Mole Agent. Love The Mole Agent. It's not going to win, but I love The Mole Agent nevertheless. Collective is likely to win in this category, in my opinion.
I don't know. It's between Collective and Time, from what I've heard.
There were some. I feel like My Octopus Teacher, they were looking for something more whimsical, but I think The Mole Agent hits that. I do think that the other Netflix one, the Dick Johnson is Dead, should have gotten a
lot of people were shocked that it didn't.
There was one. Gosh, what was? Give me just a minute.
I think it was Dick Johnson is Dead and Welcome to Chechnya that everyone thought should have been on.
Is one I think should have been on there as well, especially with a lot of the LGBTQ stuff going on in the world today. It was very important. And All In the Fight for Democracy, though the weakest of them, also could have been a good contender.
Also, a lot of people said Boys State. That was like that one, Chechnya and Dick Johnson, his dad, are the ones that most people were like, how did those not, But they also acknowledged that it was a really, really crowded category this year. And this time, it didn't look like they just picked the first ones of the alphabet, which is usually the case. So that's good. I haven't seen any of them. I really need to fix that. I was actually close to watching Dick Johnson is Dead, but I realized when I sat down, like the timing was wrong. I needed to do something.
Out of what I've seen, Crip Camp and The Mole Agent are my 2 favorites. I understand Collective had a message. It just it was not very exciting. And but then again, I didn't consider Al Gore's documentary to be that exciting either. A boring PowerPoint where he droned on for hours, even with the subject matter, which is very important. I had to watch multiple times because I kept falling asleep. Because you put me in a dark room with a freaking... I mean, only Ben Stein could have made it work.
No. Ben Stein would have made a classic.
Of course, he wouldn't anyway because
actually, I'll admit, Ben Stein's an economist. I admit, if Ben Stein was doing a 2-hour PowerPoint presentation on economics, I'd have trouble.
Well, that's how Inside Job was a harder one too, because it was basically a lot like that too. It was about PowerPoint and economics. So that being boring is definitely not a bar to winning documentary feature.
All right. So it's my turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So best director. Okay. Now we talking some history here. Thomas Vinterberg, Another Round. David Fincher, Mank. Lee Isaac Chung, Minari. Chloe Zhao, Nomad Land. And Emerald Fennell, Promising Young Woman. Now, you'll notice some things here. First of all, the only one who's a white American dude is David Fincher.
Yeah.
That's freaking weird in and of itself.
Oh, Mank had to get that, though.
Yeah. But you've got Lee Isaac Chung is one of the very few Asian men nominated in this category. Chloe Zhao is the first ever Asian woman nominated in this category. Emerald Fennell is the first ever woman nominated in this category for her first film. And here's the kicker. Chloe Zhao and Emerald Fennell are numbers 6 and 7, period. Women nominated for Best Director, and it's the first time that 2 have ever been nominated in a single year. And a lot of people thought it should have been 3, that Regina King should have been nominated for One Night in Miami. But a lot of people think that one was taken by Thomas Vinterberg, who, let's face it, that was a surprise.
Yes,
that was one of the biggest shockers. Another Round, it was considered a lock for international feature. I think most people were thinking Mads Mikkelsen as a dark horse for Best Actor. I don't think anyone was thinking Best Director. So it's impressive, especially since Vinterberg has never been nominated for an Oscar before. In fact, Fincher's the only previous nominee in this category, which is also unusual. Usually this category is heavy on veterans. So they really, really, really mix things up in this category. And to their credit, I think. Now, unfortunately, the only ones here I've seen are Mank and Minari. I can't comment on the others. I can comment on a lot of people I would have liked to have seen nominated, some of whom I think were genuinely robbed. I do think that a lot of people were very, 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 very surprised that Trial of the Chicago 7 did not net a nomination for Aaron Sorkin. And I do agree that he did a fine job. Darius Martyr could have been a nominee for The Sound of Metal. I would have liked to have seen possibly Kitty Green for The Assistant, or Spike Lee for Defy Bloods. You know, there definitely were some really, really solid possibles that didn't make it. Misaki Yuasa for Ride Your Wave would have been great.
Shaka King.
What's that?
Shaka King on there for Judas and the Black
Messiah.
Messiah.
We don't need that one taking another award.
Well,
I mean, at least these were all. At least these were all in the appropriate. At least these were all the appropriate year.
Yeah, true, but he'll be able to get it next year, so that's.
Yeah, I do think Regina King and Aaron Sorkin were widely reported as the biggest snubs in this category, and I do think both of them were solid. Their work was solid, and they were both first-time directors, I think. So it would have been kind of cool to give them that vindication, But we still have an important and history-setting group here, so.
And I've seen all of them except for Another Round. And again, I'm almost like 100% sure that Chloe Zhao is going to get it. Everything to me points to that. But who knows? Maybe my mind will change when I see Another Round.
If you'd asked me 2 months ago, I would have been certain that Kelly Reichardt was a front runner for First Cow, but I was wrong. But Reichardt and Zhao both have a lot in common as directors, and I could see maybe them going with Zhao because it was a more historic one. I am still astonished that Reichardt was left out in the cold completely, though.
So, I guess we'll go on to costume design. We got Alexandra Byrne for Emma. Anne Roth for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Trish Somerville for Mank. Bina Djigler for Mulan. Massimo Cantini Parini for Pinocchio, which I need to mark as I haven't seen that yet. Again, another surprise for Pinocchio. It must have some excellent costume design.
It must.
Again, the Private Life, David Copperfield, essentially.
Yeah.
That one should have been on this list. It was an excellent for costume design. The Birds of Prey should have been on this list. It had excellent costume design. Any type of superhero type movie. Even New Mutants could have been up for this, but I haven't seen it, so I can't speak by it. Mulan sadly does deserve that. And same with Emma. Both of those are quite amazing for the costume design.
No, sadly on Emma. I'm glad that one got it.
And Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, again, good period piece.
Oh, yeah.
And Mank, the only thing with Mank is really and truly, it's just a bunch of suits. But, there's nothing elaborate.
No, there were a lot of dresses. There were a lot of... And it was period appropriate, which is important.
It was period appropriate, but I feel like there were a lot more elaborate costumes.
And along those lines, period appropriateness, I do think, once again, The Trial of the Chicago 7 was and One Night in Miami. Both of those could have been solid ones for here.
What did I put for costume design on my little... there we go. Personal history, David Copperfield. I'd also put Judas and the Black Messiah and Wonder Woman. I don't know why I forgot Wonder Woman. I remembered...
That's a good one.
Prey. But Wonder Woman had some amazing costuming. And Judas the Black Messiah, you talk about period pieces, all those Black Panther uniforms, things like that. It's just, but again...
And again, small acts and... but, particularly Mangrove, that one. I've actually seen all of these except for Pinocchio, and I think there are some really excellent ones that didn't make the cut, but all of these are excellent, and I can't fault them terribly. So, cinematography, that's me, right?
Yep.
Judas and the Black Messiah, cinematography by Sean Bobbitt. Mank, cinematography by Eric Messerschmidt. News of the World, cinematography by Darius Wolski. Nomad Land, cinematography by Joshua James Richards. And The Trial of the Chicago 7, cinematography by Fidon Papamichael. So we got some fun names here. I've only seen the two, again, Mank and The Trial of the Chicago 7, and I've got to say, Mank absolutely deserves this nomination. The camera work was gorgeous. It was black and white. It was just really, 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 really well done. really well done. They did a great job. Trial of the Chicago 7, excellent camera work. We touched on it with the editing, but again, I will say one thing straight up. I would pluck Judas and the Black Messiah out, and I would put, I would almost say The Sound of Metal could fit right in, because that did have solid camera work, but there were several really, 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 really good ones. But this is actually one where I'm going to reach a little further down on the list and bring up two films that we haven't talked about yet that some people have noted. Most people have kind of ignored the other one. But in the camera work, I do think The Vast of Night had phenomenal camera work. It was brilliant camera work, and that is a film that deserved more love than it got, and one that some people are citing as a snub in this category, and a lot of people are citing as a snub overall, was Blumhouse's production of The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
That one was actually a really solid film that had pretty solid camera work, and I could see either of those deserving that nod that was stolen by a 2021 release. Oh, yeah. And I can't comment on the other two, but I could see either of them being deserving regardless. Although from what I've seen, again, stills, News of the World looks like a gorgeous film. So,
one thing I forgot with international feature was La Llorona, which should have, which Guatemala did,
I was
that
amazed
was an
you
amazing
forgot
film, and should have been included in there.
Yeah.
But as far as cinematography, Tenet should have been on here because, again, Christopher Nolan alone should be enough because a Christopher Nolan film is automatically a very good cinematography film. But other than that, now I would not pluck Judas and the Black Messiah out because doing so would mean that we're throwing it out entirely from any awards speculation for the future. Because the next year's Oscars, we'd have to say, well, we plucked it out last year. It has no place in this year's awards either.
They shouldn't have done that in the first place.
Shouldn't, but because because it is in the here and now, if it's not in here, you're saying it does not deserve an Oscar, period. So that's where... That's
not what I'm saying, but whatever.
But I know, but it's, what we're working with what we have to go with.
Right.
So unfortunately, it does mean that if we plucked it out, it would mean that it won't ever get an award. So, and that's not right, because it's a good movie.
Right.
It's not its fault that the Oscars did that. Shaka Khan didn't go up and say to them, "Okay, Academy, you're changing the rules."
How do you know? How do you know?
I think he would have had an excellent chance in 2021. So, actually, probably not, because most January and February films would get snubbed.
Which is what happened this year, which is why it's doubly insulting that they did this, because all those films from the early part of the year. But again, Emma's a double Oscar nominee, so not all of them got snubbed. But
it could have gotten, but it did get snubbed for acting and directing and best feature, which, So, well, I guess we'll go on to animated. So we have Dan Scanlon and Corey Ray for Onward, which is on Physical. It's also on Disney Plus, and if you don't want to bother with Disney Plus, you can pay about half the price of Disney Plus to rent it on Prime. Personally, if you hadn't seen Onward and Soul and you want to just stream it, you would probably do just as well paying the $8 and just getting Disney Plus for a month, or buying them on physical so you can just keep them for yourself. But then there's Glenn Keane, Janine Rim, and Paylin Chow for Over the Moon, which is on Netflix. And Richard Felon, Will Baker, and Paul Cooley for a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, on Netflix. Peter Docter and Dana Murray for Soul. Tom Moore, Ross Stewart, Paul Young, and Stephen Rowlance for Wolfwalkers, which is only on Apple TV. So, again, I look at these. I've seen all but Shaun the Sheep, which I'll admit I shouldn't have ignored, but I had other things on my mind at the time. I was really kind of hoping that Ride Your Wave or Lupin the Third would get that spot, or at least because I knew it wasn't going to kick off.
Considering they didn't even make the damn short list.
Which it really does make me mad to see it, because there were a lot of cool ones. I mean, there was also the Demon Slayer movie, which was submitted.
Yeah,
that had zero chance.
That had zero chance.
But I know why they submitted it. The Japanese thought that it.
Right.
I mean, Japan thought that it had a huge chance of winning, because in their eyes.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No.
Well, I mean,
they didn't.
It is the highest grossing theatrical release
that
they have
doesn't
ever
mean
had
anything.
there. That is a huge thing. It's a historic thing. So
yeah, which it just underscores the unfortunate disconnect between America's complete lack of interest in most of that stuff.
I mean, the Shaun the Sheep, you're right. I should have thought about that one beforehand. It unfortunately was probably a lock because of the Wallace and Gromit connection. Soul and the Onward locked because of Pixar. And Wolfwalkers, I mean, come on. The other two by this studio made it. This was bound to get there. Over the Moon was the only one that really had any room to be kicked out or put in. And I guess there was no way that any Japanese production, no matter how good, would have kicked that off. So it's a sad thing, but I think that this is pretty much how it was going to be. I don't think it was.
If memory serves, I think this is exactly what I called, which makes this one of the few years I called this category 100% right.
Yeah.
It may be one of the only categories I did.
I was stubborn and I decided, no, I'm going to put it in anime.
I have to admit, this one, I've only seen two. I've seen Onward and Over the Moon, because I don't have Apple, the freaking jerks, and I don't have Disney Plus, and I will probably get Soul before the show, and I can tune into Netflix to watch Farmageddon. I really want to see Wolfwalkers. But yes, based on what I know, Ride Your Wave definitely deserved it more than Over the Moon, and I have every reason to believe it deserved it more than Shaun the Sheep movie. But I can't quibble with either of the Pixar films because I haven't seen Soul, but I've heard just nothing but greatness. And I've heard, and I fully enjoyed Onward and everything, and I loved Over the Moon. It just wasn't as good as Ride Your Wave. And I've just heard nothing but great about Wolfwalkers. So this is a category that I'm mainly burned that Ride Your Wave didn't make it at least into this one. But
at least we didn't get a Boss Baby.
Exactly. Even though the Shaun the Sheep movies are meant for kids, they are based off of a children's TV show. The first one was such a fun, whimsical movie that I had no problem enjoying it. Man. So it's like, if this one's like that, yeah.
Oh, that's on my definite. Well, I mean, they're all on my list to watch, and yeah, for the most part, easy enough to grab. All right, your turn.
Okay, my turn. And whereas you had no desire to revisit this, I have no problem. We have Maria Bakalova nominated for Borat's subsequent movie film, Delivery of Prodigious Bribe to American Regime for Make Benefit Once Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan. We have Amanda Seyfried for the similarly long-titled Mank. We have Yunya Jung for Minari. We have Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, and we have Olivia Colman for The Father. Now, in this category, I have actually seen 4. You missed one, I think.
Well, that probably was a...
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
You missed the one I have not seen, apparently.
Yeah, well, neither one of us had seen it, so there's no point.
I have not seen The Father, so I cannot comment on Olivia Colman's performance. Now, on the others, Amanda Seyfried does a fine job in May. She does a good job. I liked her very much in the role. It was one of her stronger performances. Was it one of the best of the year? It's hard to say. Yunya Jung made history as the first Korean national nominated for an acting Oscar, which should have happened 4 times over last year with Parasite, but this is the Academy trying to make up for that, I'm sure. But she is excellent as the grandmother in Minari. And along with Stephen Young, we'll get to in a bit, the first person of Korean origin, descent, what have you, nominated for any acting category, and one of the very, very, very few Asians nominated in the supporting actress category. So there's all sorts of history being made with that one. Maria Bakalova, first-time actress, she gets mad props for her ability to improvise and to work on the fly. She gets mad props for keeping up with Sacha Baron Cohen and for not running out of the room screaming at Rudy Giuliani and some of the other people she met. So just like the first time around where I was all about his ability to stay in character, I give her props for the same thing. Her ability to stay in character, even though it was a very absurd character and some of the things she had to do were unusual, it was very well done. Glenn Close is the odd one. This is the very, 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 very divisive and controversial choice. This same performance is also up for a Golden Raspberry Award.
That's strange. Actually, I want to see that win so that they can both win at the same time. And I kind
of want to see that. That would, I think, be history for someone to win the Oscar and the Razzie for the same award. And I sure hope she shows up to pick up both of them. but honestly, though, I think this is a solid performance. I've seen better. I've seen worse. I've seen everything, this, that, the other. Glenn Close is someone that the Academy has this narrative that she really, 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 really needs to win the Oscar. But just like with Diane Warren, I don't think this is her year. Yep. And so I really, really hope that they don't push too hard for that. If it were up to me, I would, without hesitation, I would pluck her out, and in her place, I would put in Talia Ryder from Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. That is a movie that really, 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 really should have gotten some Oscar love. And Ryder, as the supportive cousin and friend of the main character, really did a great job. And I think she was one of the year's biggest snubs. And so I'm going to go with that.
So I, on the other hand, would have plucked out Amanda Seyfried, because I feel like she's the weakest of the crowd. Obviously, the nomination for The Father is the best one because The Father is obviously the best film of the year, and it should win everything that it's nominated for. But and all other things, I really feel like Glenn Close and Yoo Jung-yeon's performances were very close as far as their ability, and Maria Bakalova is probably my favorite as far as to win this time around, but I disagree. I do think this is one of the better performances Glenn Close has given, And just because when you can see an actress disappear into a character and the character is super believable, that is an amazing performance, and she did an amazing job with that. I also have my notes.
We should also note, I think we both have a bit of favoritism that Maria Bakalova is a Bulgarian national, so we...
Well, she did an excellent job regardless.
Yes.
I also feel like Swanky from Nomad Land, which is one of the few times you'll see me mention Nomad Land as a deserving thing on here, is I do think that she should have also been up for a supporting role. I mean, she really isn't an actress, but she was so much in that role, I felt like she deserved that nomination. If anything, she should have gotten Amanda Seyfried's nomination there. I really feel like that's the role which fits mostly what you were just... When you were talking about Glenn Close, I really feel like the Mank role of Amanda Seyfried was more in that line of they were really... It was just kind of... It was that role. She did good, but it really wasn't the best role that she's done.
I also want to do a shout out for Olivia Cook in Sound of Metal. She did a really great job too.
I have a bone to pick, and it will be with lead actress. And by the way, I do not believe that the lead actress... What was that film you want? The one about the woman that got the abortion. What was that one again?
Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
I do not believe she deserves the best actress role for that thing. So I do not... You can fight for that. I do not feel like she did as well as
I think Sydney Flanagan did a great job, but I think Talia Ryder outshone her as in the acting. But yeah,
I have several bones to pick on this. I'm not going to. I'm going to be living in reality here, which means I'm working within what is there. Because if it wasn't, I would say that it can't. That Sophia Loren should not have been up for anything this year, and just not get any awards, period. But
that's silly.
But I gotta live within what's happened. It was submitted, so she really should have been up this year. I think Viola Davis was put up because she's Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Then the only one here, Andra Day for United States versus Billie Holiday on Hulu, and by the way, I have not seen that one. I've seen all the others. Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of Woman for Netflix, Frances McDormand for Nomad Land, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. Now, I will say this. I give them props for not putting Meryl Streep up.
Yeah.
Because that's something I had figured they were just going to do but they did put Frances McDormand up, and I did not feel like she deserved that. I think they put her up because she's Frances McDormand. I really do. Yeah. That was politics.
Well, and also because of the love for the movie, but yeah.
Yes, and I'm surprised Mank didn't see something up here. But out of the ones that I've seen here, Carey Mulligan, obviously that's one that deserves it. Vanessa Kirby really did do a great job in Pieces of a Woman, but which on Netflix, by the way. But to me, there were a couple that I feel like were missing on here. Again, Sophia Loren came out of retirement for The Life of Head and acted probably some of the best acting in her freaking life. She deserved a nomination. She should have been in Viola Davis's or Frances McDormand's slot. I can see this as, if you want to go with diversity, she's Italian. For goodness sake. So I still feel like it's a diversity. She deserves that nomination. That's my soapbox. Also, let's see here. There was the other one. Gosh, what was her name? She was in I'm Here to Help or something like that. God, what was it?
I Care a Lot.
Yeah, I Care a Lot.
Yeah, Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike also should have been looked at for that role. I mean, for her role.
I think that was also a 2021 release, which puts it in the Mauritanian category of films that got robbed by that stupid idea.
And again, it's all in that. Again, it's all in that concept because again, me saying that it doesn't deserve to be there doesn't help it because it'll be saying it doesn't deserve to be here. Then when we get to 2021, it'll be like
that's what I'm saying. They got robbed of it. They got robbed of a chance to compete properly.
Yeah, and then in 2021, we won't be mentioning them at all. So it'll be
exactly.
So that's the thing.
Well, no. I'll be mentioning it. I'll be talking about the movies that should be nominated that weren't because of this year.
So again, but in reality, those should have been looked at.
Yeah.
And if you're going to go for the gold and not for the foreign feature, I really wish that it could have at least gotten the nomination. Because, I mean, if they had waited a year and gone next year, it would have at least gotten the international feature nod.
Right. Now, unfortunately, I have not seen that film that you are raving about, and I really want to. I agree that Viola Davis probably got nominated more because she's Viola Davis, and Viola Davis is awesome. But I don't think this was her absolute best role. And we did see history made here, too. Viola Davis and Andra Day, it's the first time two actresses of African descent nominated in the same year for lead actress. And Andra Day is the first one nominated for her first ever performance as an actress, apparently. Davis is the first one nominated 4 times, twice in actress and twice in supporting, I believe. So the only one I've actually seen here, sadly, is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So I'm mostly going off of, okay, first of all, United States versus Billie Holiday, 2021, remove it. Replace it with Julia Garner for The Assistant. She was robbed of a nomination. I'm not the only one that says that. A lot of people are seeing her as a snub. You mentioned somewhat derisively the one from Never Really, Sometimes Always. I'm not going to necessarily push for her, but I actually think the mother in Minari, Yeri Han, probably was a solid contender here because I would say she was more lead than support, and she really did a great job. A lot of people are calling Elizabeth Moss a snub for The Invisible Man, and I kind of agree with that. Anya Taylor-Joy for Emma, great performance there. Letitia Wright for Small Axe Mangrove, great performance there. So there were some really, really solid ones. I haven't even talked about the 2 leads in Blow the Man Down, more because that was a personal favorite, but I really thought they were great. There's a lot of possible snubs here, but I really have to see the films to know for sure. I just know that one of them being a 2021, I immediately replaced with the one from Assistant.
And again,
I'm surprised I am astonished that The Assistant, with its flavor of obviously being a veiled look at life under Harvey Weinstein, I'm astonished that didn't get more Oscar love, But
I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was as worthy as some of the other contenders.
Yeah.
But again, that's me.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm doing support, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this category simultaneously made me happy and made me pissed. And we'll get to that. So anyway, we have Sacha Baron Cohen nominated for Trial of the Chicago 7. Daniel Kaluuya nominated for Judas and the Black Messiah. Leslie Odom Jr. nominated for One Night in Miami. Paul Raci nominated for Sound of Metal. Lakeith Stanfield nominated for Judas and the Black Messiah. So, first of all, a couple of notes. One, this is the first time 2 people of African descent have been nominated in the same category for the same movie, at least in the acting contingent. So that's interesting. It's the first nomination ever for most of these, although Cohen is a double nominee this year, and I think Kaluuya was nominated for Get Out, if I remember correctly. And Leslie Odom Jr. is a double nominee. He's also up for original song, so good on him, definitely. It's also worth noting that Odom Jr. and Andre Day are both professional musicians by trade. So I was watching one night in Miami going, dude can sing. Yeah. And then I realized, wait a minute, he's a jazz singer. Of course he can. but at any rate, so because he plays Sam Cooke in the movie. Yeah. Of these, I have seen the three that belong here. Judas and the Black Messiah robbed a lot of great people of nominations by being here this year when it's not supposed to be. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but let's give a few examples here. Mark Rylance in Trial of the Chicago 7. He was friggin' awesome in that movie. A lot of people would say Eddie Redmayne in the same movie quite deserved a nomination. There were, Defiled Bloods was full of great supporting roles. And a lot of people were hoping to see Chadwick Boseman. I don't think he fully deserved a nod for that one, but it would have been a nice send-off for him to be a double nominee, first ever posthumous double nominee in the acting. I'm not going to pick through any of these, but okay, I do have one major beef that I guess could have gone us alongside Mark Rylance in this category. Hugh Grant should have been nominated for The Gentleman. He was so good in that movie. And The Gentleman got no love at all. He should have been nominated. And I would have liked to have seen Ewan McGregor nominated for Birds of Prey. I think that would have been great. But again, no knock on these people. Kaluuya and Stanfield are very talented, but this movie should have been up next year. And then, okay, let's do another rant. My big rant last year, my biggest one, the one I kept coming back to again and again and again, was how much I was pissed. As much as I love Brad Pitt, and I love Brad Pitt, he is a great actor. He is a very, 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 very talented, likable fella. He should never have won supporting actor for a lead role. And everything I have heard about this is that Lakeith Stanfield is the lead in this movie. And that Kaluuya's role is big enough that it's kind of a debate calling him support. So for the two of them to be clogging up the supporting actor category with those kind of roles for movies from 2021 is double bullshit. So you've seen the movie, so you can say better than I can on whether that's accurate. But
that's an actress. I'm looking at my...
right.
Which one did Lakeith Stanfield play?
He was the informant in yeah.
Then I agree with you. That was an actor. That should have been actor, not supporting actor.
Okay. Now the two things I will say about this. First of all, again, good job, Leslie Odom Jr. He did a fine job playing Sam Cooke in that movie. And he had just a wonderful singing voice. It was just really great. I still think Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown was a snub in this category. It's debatable whether Kingsley Ben-Adir, who plays Malcolm X, should have been in support or lead. But because it's an ensemble piece, but Ben-Adir probably wasn't a snub for lead actor. But the thing that I'm going to go on after all of that bitching, I am thrilled. I am beyond thrilled. I am astonished and thrilled that Paul Raci got in there for Sound of Metal. It is one of the best performances of the year. No one was seriously talking about him for this category. I am thrilled that he got a nod. So, yeah.
Now, my one point I will make with any of these as we go, I do think that if COVID had not hit, I do think that the nominations would look identical to what we've got. Because
I don't know about that.
Because I do
Similar.
think that, for instance, Judas and the Black Messiah was due to come out in December. So that would not have come out in February or January. The Father would have, to me, I still consider The Father 2021 because of but that would have come.
I consider The Father 2020 because it had so many performances last year.
But I do think that the majority of these 2021 films would have come out in December. They would not have come out in January, February. So you would have seen identical ones. Maybe United States versus Billie Holiday. But a lot of these films had already been completed. Most of them had been filmed and were in that post-production phase towards that time COVID hit. The problem was it put them behind, and
so that's when you make a choice. You either say, okay, we'll push back to 2021, which a lot of movies did, or you do like The Father and Minari and make sure they get played on some virtual festivals, and that way you can at least say they got out there.
See, that's the thing. I mean, they could have played in a theater for a week, like one theater in LA County for a week. Nobody might have seen it, but to me, I feel that's an unfair thing to say that's a 2020 release. To me, a broad release should be the official release.
Well, and again, they did allow 6 markets this year, which is great. They did allow 6 markets. That opened it up somewhat.
But again, that's always been my bone to pick with the Oscars, is the elitism that the whole thing is about. It should have always been about wide release. A 2020 film should be a film that was released widely in 2020, which means The Father should have been out of it. I still say The Father does not count as a 2020 film. A small festival release, to me, does not make a real release because it was unavailable to anybody but those few people who went to the festival. No, I still feel if we're gonna pick things, if we're gonna be picky, then I can be picky about that.
And again, also, this is, again, part of my mindset here is The Father, Minari, News of the World, some of these opted for a primarily theatrical release, which was very heavily contingent on the COVID stuff and reopening and all that kind of stuff. And they could have made the choice to go streaming, but they really wanted that theatrical release. They thought they could make it work. So that is more debatably, they more debatably could have made other choices, but still that choice was heavily impacted by COVID. COVID is not an excuse for the film making its worldwide debut on streaming a month and a half after the year is over.
But then again, you're also robbing all the films that come out in December.
Exactly.
But that's the other thing. If we do that, you're also taking all of these films that were supposed to be December 2020 releases, and you are putting them against the strongest contenders of 2021 that normally it wouldn't have gone against. So you're also basically kicking either the ones... Actually, you probably would be kicking films like Judas and the Black Messiah to the curb entirely in favor of the December releases for 2021. And that's the
unless they hold that one until December 2021, which they certainly could.
They could, but I don't know whether they would. Again, it's all about... And now, I admit, maybe a delay of these films, a full-on delay, and say all these films, we'll just put them on the shelf for 8 months and release them. But again, you would be overstuffing December 2021 schedule unless you're continuously pushing and overstuffing. The more I think about this, the more I am thinking it's going to be a fucked up year one way or another. There is no positive solution. I would have been unhappy with this no matter how they did it. I'd have been unhappy with this if they had decided to say, those films are there, and then we see they're snubbed in when we're here next year because a whole bunch of those December releases overshadowed them when they shouldn't have had that. And I'd be saying, well, those films should have gotten love last year because they were supposed to be out last year, and now they're not getting any
Well,
love.
I mean, again, what if the film was ready to go? It was ready to hit theaters. It could have come out in December. Why the hell could it not come out on streaming the last week of December?
Well, because
Why not?
because the Oscars delayed.
Why not?
I
Yes,
think if the
I know.
Oscars had not
That
made
was
the delay,
stupid. They should
they would
not have
have.
done that.
Oh yeah, if the Oscars had not
should
made the delay, I guarantee you,
Yeah.
they would have had like a 1 or 2 day streaming event, and then it would have
Yeah.
shut it off, and then it'd come back later. You know, so like 5 people
That's
would.
still better than nothing. That's
And,
still better than nothing.
You know, it's but it would have been there. Then we'd still be looking at the same nominees.
No, not quite the same.
I mean, if those films all released on 2020, do you feel like it would still have changed the game? Who would have lost out that is nominated now if all those 2021 films were 2020 releases?
That's an interesting thought, isn't it?
That's the question. Because I don't think that any of them would. I think it would have been the same nominees. Matter of fact, they would have been just as strong because they'd have all been December releases, and they would have still held that same level. But that's me. Oh well, on to actor. Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Stephen Yeun for Minari. Couple of things. I think Stephen Yeun, it's a great nomination for him. I think it's a congratulations for him on Minari. I mean, Gary Oldman was expected. It's Mank.
Yeah.
This film was, if this was done 20 years ago, I would have said Mank would have cleaned up in every category.
Quite possibly.
It's the freaking La La Land of this year.
I'm thinking more like the artist, but yeah.
I mean, Anthony Hopkins was, it was going to happen for The Father. It was just,
Yeah.
which I need to. Oh wait,
Yeah.
I got rid of
That's not it.
I did that. Yeah. But yes, that's the way I look at it for that. Yeah, it's going to be there. Chadwick Boseman is going to win that award. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there. I don't think it was his strongest performance, but it was a strong enough performance, and it was one of his.
For a swan song, you could do worse.
You could definitely do worse. Riz Ahmed, I think that this is the one that probably should win.
Right.
Because I do feel like his performance was the strongest of all of these, except for Anthony Hopkins, which obviously was the strongest performance of the year for The Father.
Obviously, because you saw it.
Because I haven't seen it, therefore it must be the strongest performance.
Right.
But
Now, I've actually seen 4 of the 5, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
that's
I do.
let me go ahead and go my ones I think should have been in, and then I'll hand it back to you.
Go for it. Go for it.
Again, I do feel like, I agree with you. God darn it, my thing here.
Go up.
Yeah, I do think that as far as supporting actor, I do think Lakeith Stanfield should have been in that area. I do think that was there. I do think that Glenn Close did a good. Wait, no, Glenn Close is actor.
Glenn Close for actor? No.
Well, we got to be inclusive.
She did have kind of a manly look.
Let's see. There we go.
The top of the page. There you go.
Yes, I do feel Tahar Rahim was most definitely robbed of things for that, and that's with that crowded year. It's just it's a shame because he is the only one I think that gave a performance on par with Riz Ahmed.
I think so. Yes.
And Kingsley Ben-Adir, again, I hate that he wasn't nominated at all. I think he should have. If we're going to say it's a supporting role, then I think that he should have had Lakeith Stanfield's place. actor, and Lakeith Stanfield should have been in the leading role. So
Right.
those are my thoughts on.
See,
what was there.
with Kingsley Ben-Adir, it's interesting because One Night in Miami is an ensemble film with the four characters are the centers of the film. But one could easily argue that Malcolm X is the driving force behind the meeting. He is the one who speaks the most, the one who interacts the most with each other character. He is debatably the lead. But you could look at it as an ensemble movie, in which case the Oscar tends to go with supporting for those kind of roles. So I do think he had an excellent performance. I think he outshone both Stephen Yeun and Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman, I love him as an actor. He is brilliant, actually, as an actor. I don't think this was his strongest performance. I really don't think it was even... I would say it's probably pushing it to say this is in his top 5. And so definitely up against Riz Ahmed and Tahar Rahim, he's not even in the same league. I would say Chadwick Boseman and Stephen Yeun both did much better. I agree this was not Boseman's strongest role, but it's a solid swan song. He probably will win. It's a shame because Riz Ahmed was so friggin' awesome in Sound of Metal, and it's a crime that Tahar Rahim got robbed because of those stupid-ass changes to the rules. He should be a front-runner next year, but he won't be. Or he could have been. This is one where I disagree with you saying there would have been no change. I think if the Mauritanian had a proper 2020 release and gotten visibility, it would have gotten nominations. I think that was one where there was potentially a change. I do think that in this category, I've heard this is one of Anthony Hopkins' best roles ever. I still need to see The Father, but I do think that it's in now. That having been said, let's talk about the historic nature of this category. We got only 2 old white dudes nominated. Only 2 old white dudes. That is historic. We got Stephen Yeun is the first actor of Korean descent nominated for Best Actor. Riz Ahmed he's the first Asian American also nominated for actor. Riz Ahmed is British Pakistani, but he's one of the very few people of Asian descent nominated. He is the first practicing Muslim nominated for Best Actor, and I believe second only to Mahershala Ali for any acting award. Chadwick Boseman is the first, this is kind of a sad one, it is a sad one, but he's the first posthumous nomination for a person of color, as they say. And it's the first time that the number of white contenders is fewer than the number of people of color, if you will. I mean, Ahmed, person of color, I think that phrase gets overused a little bit. But the idea is that it's not all a bunch of old white dudes. Yeah. And this is like an historically diverse
This
pick.
isn't as much Oscars so white, at least in the nominations. We'll see what it comes in the wins anyway. Well,
they did a really good job. That is one thing I will give them. They did a really good job of diversifying the Oscars this year. Now, again, this is one of the reasons why I don't see the need for them to shoehorn those other movies in, because they probably thought, oh, this will let us get more diversity. But they didn't need it. They already had a lot of diversity. So it's like, But anyway, that is that.
I think the real question will be, in the end, whether the Oscars are going to stay with this schedule or whether they're going to just do a very short year.
They may have to do a short year for 2021, but they're doing it year after year like this would just be freaking stupid. So they shouldn't do that. But anyway, so we're up to the last category, the one a few of you have heard of. This is called Best Picture, where this year, out of a possible 10 nominees, we have 8.
Okay, I need to ask you, because you know the answer to this.
Sure.
Why 8?
Why 8?
When we've seen as many as 9 on the regular and
Right.
10 in the spectacular. I knew not 10, but why 8 when you've got this many additional films?
Because
Supposedly,
it's freaking stupid.
8.
I don't. It has something to do with I think a certain number of films have to clear a certain threshold in terms of the votes that they get. I don't know exactly what the threshold is, but for whatever reason this year, I guess people were too divided because there were so many choices. I guarantee you that was, there were so many choices and people were divided, and that probably hurt the chances of a lot of films. And we'll get on that in a minute. But so what we do have as our nominees: David Parfit, Jean-Louis Levy, and Philippe Carcassonne for The Father. Shaka King, Charles D. King, and Ryan Coogler for Judas and the Black Messiah. Sean Chaffin, Eric Roth, and Douglas Ubransky for Mank. Christina Oh for Minari. Frances McDormand, Peter Spears, Millie Asher, Dan Janvi, and Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Ben Browning, Ashley Fox, Emerald Fennell, and Josie McNamara for Promising Young Woman. Burt Hamelink and Sacha Ben Hiroche for Sound of Metal. And Mark Platt and Stuart Besser for Trial of the Chicago 7. So, first thing, I have seen a whopping 4 of the 8. And I will admit, on my personal list, Sound of Metal is number 1. Trial of the Chicago 7 is number 2. Mank is number 5. And number 12 is Minari. So, as I would have it, they really should have had Small Axe Mangrove on this list. They should have had Mangrove on this list. It is criminal that they decided to go with Amazon's stupid-ass idea to call it a TV show, even though Mangrove and 2 or 3 of the other films were released originally or intended to be released as films. But they decided, no, we're going to go with this. And that one got utterly robbed in that sense. I would also say, frankly, that Onward, Ride Your Wave, and Defy Bloods were all snubbed in this one. And I would even go all out and say Blow the Man Down probably should have been up. I have not seen 4 of them. And again, I would immediately say Judas and the Black Messiah should have been up next year. Other than that, I can't comment on The Father, Nomad Land, or Promising Young Woman. Nomad Land got so much critical love. Yeah. I'm not surprised to see it here. I'm kind of glad it is. One really cool thing about that I've got to mention, there's 2 major bits of history here. I think there's a couple others. Judas and the Black Messiah made history that it should have made next year if it wasn't made by another film this year. But it did make history as the first all-black team of producers. Mm-hmm. So the first time Best Picture has gone entirely to people of African descent. Nomadland made interesting history, and the Best Picture is the 4th. We keep hearing Chloe Zhao's name. She is the first woman ever nominated 4 times in a single year for an Oscar. That's a pretty impressive achievement and pretty cool. And the fact that she is a Chinese-born Asian American, that's a very, very doubly impressive feat. And I give her props for that. So that's some interesting history being made there. I just really wish they hadn't screwed the pooch with A, having a 2021 film, and B, having 2 unfilled slots.
Yeah, the 2 unfilled slots really makes me mad.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Hillbilly Elegy get in there. I wanted to see the Mauritanian get in there. I wanted to see a lot of those. Defy Bloods. One Night in Miami, for God's sakes. It's got so much other love, and it's not there. Trial of the Chicago 7. Wait, no, that's in there. Okay, never mind. That one.
A lot of people are calling One Night in Miami and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom major snubs in this category. A lot of people are calling Soul a snub in this category.
Soul is a snub, but it's an expected snub in this category.
Yes.
It's something that I knew was going to be snubbed. I'm just used to it. The Oscars have always been that way.
Still disappointing.
I do feel that there is a lot of concern I have that Oscars So White is going to be still a theme with the wins. Because if the Critics' Choice Awards are any indication, Nomad Land and The Father could clean up and leave lot of the people of color in the cold, with the exception of Chloe Zhao actually winning the director award. But I do have concerns over that. And in my opinion, I think Nomad Land is a good film. I don't want people to think that I hate the film. Any more than I would necessarily want people to think that you hate Judas and the Black Messiah. It's all. I
haven't seen it, and I actually want to see it. I think it looks good. I think it looks great. I just think, and again, on the 2021 thing, I have seen one 2021 film, The Mauritanian, and based solely on that one film, I can say unequivocally that next year, I'm probably going to be bitching that The Mauritanian did not get a nod for Best Picture. Because next year, I'm probably going to have it in my top 5, and I'm probably going to go, why the friggin' hell did Oscar nominate it for the wrong year? Because The Mauritanian is an incredible movie. It just should not be in the running this year.
Well, let's say I don't think that Nomad Land is a bad film. I just think it's overrated. And that the only thing
I've only seen I saw the previous film from Zhao. It's called The Rider, and that was another critical darling, but it didn't do near as well as this one did.
Yeah.
And The Rider was a great film. I can see why people loved it, but
Again, I don't, like I say, I don't dislike Nomadland by any means. And I think some of the nominations are deserved. Again, director nomination, most definitely. I think Swanky should have gotten a supporting actress nod. But again, I do feel like there was a lot of pressure to say, this is the film we need to do because this is the critical one. Just like Mank. Mank is another one I feel like was a very excellent film, but overrated. It was this is the film that the Oscars are going to nominate because this is what the Oscars traditionally would have given a sweeping number of wins to.
Although we do have to make a note. One of the weirdest, strangest, and quite frankly, most amusing of the snubs that we had to work with this time around has to do with Mank. If you've been keeping count at home or you paid attention to the news, Mank is leading the field with 10 nominations. There are 6 films with 6 each, which is very interesting math there. But Mank has 10 nominations. You know the only thing it's not nominated for, apparently? The writing. And you know what the only Oscar Citizen Kane won was?
Writing.
The writing.
Actually, it's funny.
That's pretty hilarious. Although it's kind of sad because apparently David Fincher's father wrote the screenplay, and he apparently passed away. So that was potential for another like nod to someone who's passed on, and it would have been a nice nod. I think Jack Fincher was his name.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it is kind of hilarious that that the film about the writing of Citizen Kane did not get nominated for the writing.
Well, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Sadly, this is not going up on Monday night, but it will be out by Tuesday morning.
No. We'll go by Oscar rules. When it goes up on Tuesday, it'll still be Monday.
There you go. But in any case, I think we had a very informative discussion, and I hope you all have been keeping score at home. I know for myself, for the most part, I have a good shot at watching most of what's left, except for some of the foreign films and, well, obviously the short films. But I can't think of any year where we've watched most of the short films.
This may be the one year I've sometimes had one or two animated shorts because they're like attached to Disney or Pixar films or something, which is not a thing anymore, sadly. But I don't know that I've ever gone in to the nomination day with 6 documentary shorts already watched.
Yeah, I know.
And an animation on top of it. And I actually happened to have seen 3 of the nominees. That was actually a pretty good.
And I did want to make.
Not bad.
I did want to make a notation. So we're looking at these. If you were to, let's say you want to get a big swoop on a lot of these films. So if you were to do 1 month of, this would be fairly expensive, but not as expensive as you might think. Amazon Prime, Netflix, Hulu, Apple Plus, and Disney Plus. If you were to get all of those, it's about maybe, I'd say about $60-65 maybe. You spend that, you would be able to get probably a good 80% of the nominees watched. Now, as opposed to like if you went to theaters and you paid maybe $10 a film to see. So,
probably more than that.
So again, I don't think it's a huge thing to have those services for a month, and many of them, if you're smart, you might be able to get some of the what they call it, those the free access time period. Just like, find a time where you have a lot of time and then just like ram through it. So it's still doable. That's the reason why I want to make sure people know where those are for streaming. And it's and some of it's very good. I mean, shoot, I was watching a little John Oliver this morning, so it was it's kind of nice to have the access.
And also make one thing that is worth noting is that a good number of the feature films that are nominated, Ma Rainey, for example, Ma Rainey is like $1.40 in length, if I remember correctly. It's not a long movie.
No.
And a lot of the short films are short.
Oh, shoot,
like in the past.
That animated film.
In the past. Well, yeah, the animated film that we talked about, If Anything Happens, I Love You, that one is 12 minutes long, I believe. It might be, I think it's 12 minutes. A Love Song for Latasha is like 13 minutes. I think the longest one I watched was probably pushing 25. Of the 7 I saw, the longest one I think was about 25 minutes. I think the shortest one was about 11. So I didn't get anything as short. In the past, we've had some animated films that were 5 minutes long or shorter. I didn't get anything that short yet. But typically, documentaries tend to run a little longer. So this year, they're kind of a shorter crop than than they have been. So that is good if you got limited time. I want to say the Speed Cubers and What Would Sophia Loren Do were both on the longer end.
But they were good.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, I need to see them. Even if they didn't get nominated, I want to see them. But yeah, the live actions tend to be a little bit longer as well. But yeah.
And that movie that I was talking about, gosh, what was her name? Meryl Streep. I mean, their movie
Let Them All Talk.
Let Them All Talk was a good film.
And that's on HBO Plus, right?
Let me see. I've got it actually listed on here.
I think it is.
It's Let Them. Oh, I'm looking on my wrong list. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, what is it doing in that list? It's not there. Let's see here.
There you go.
Let's see. Cats and Dogs 3 obviously is the best film of the year.
Obviously,
Yeah, it's
the
on
very
HBO,
best.
but and it's a great film. It is a really well done film. I just don't think it was. It wasn't.
Oh yeah, a lot of people thought The Midnight Sky was a snub for the score. I really want to hear that score. I've
it
heard
was
good
good
things.
too. Yeah. So there's a lot of good things. I think.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is we've got to look at what we've got, enjoy what is there, and just say and try and enjoy the films of the year. It's a lot of crap, but we always have crap with the freaking Oscars. If it wasn't this, we'd be bringing up something else. So, as far as I'm concerned, hopefully, like anything COVID related, it will be temporary, and we can move on next year. So, with that being said, I hope you all have enjoyed this. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and of course, share, and we'll see you.
Oh, and definitely let us know your own.
Yes.
If you've got any hot button issues with the way they're doing it this year, or if you feel that we are absolutely insane for saying, for example, that anyone should even consider Hillbilly Elegy, or if you feel like, how dare you not even mention Death Toll at 3, Call of Duty, or
Cats and Dogs 3.
Definitely let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to get see what everyone thinks.
Actually,
there.
A Whisker Away, A Sun, those were really good. So, yeah, I mean, American Pie presents Girls' Rules.
Well, I mean, again, if we're looking at, some of the, like what I've currently got in my top 10, we've got Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, no nominations. Blow the Man Now, no nominations. Small Axe, Red, White, and Blue, no nominations. Defy Bloods, 1 nomination. Ride Your Wave, no nominations. Mank, 10 nominations. Small Axe, Mangrove, no nominations. Onward, 1 nomination. Trial of the Chicago 7, 6 nominations. Sound of Metal, 6 nominations. So they got some of them right, some of them dead wrong.
I mean, and you got snubbed for a Best Supporting Actor nod for Faces of Death.
Faces of Fear, I believe.
Fear, sorry,
I don't know what were they thinking.
In any case, with that being said, we'll see you on the next one. I don't know why I'm pulling.
All right.